from archaic translation by Robert Chalmers. JATAKA number 130. Khuddhaka JATAKA. You may ale or eat. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery, about a woman of Sravasti city. She is said to have been the wicked wife of a good and virtuous Brahmin, who was a lay brother. Her nights she spent in gadding about, while by day she did not a stroke of work, but made out to be ill and lay abed groaning. "What is the matter with you, my dear?" said her husband. "Wind troubles me. What can I get for you?" "Sweets, nice flavored, rich food, rice porridge, boiled rice, oil, and so on." The obedient husband did as she wished, and toiled like a slave for her. She meantime kept her bed while her husband was about the house. But no sooner saw the door shut on him, than she was in the arms of her paramours. "My poor wife doesn't seem to get any better of the wind," thought the Brahmin at last, and took himself with offerings of perfumes, flowers, and the like, to the master at Jetavana monastery. His act of homage done, he stood before the Lord Buddha, who asked him why he had been absent so long. "Sir," said the Brahmin, "I'm told my wife is troubled with the wind, and I toil away to keep her supplied with every conceivable elegant. And now she is stout and her complexion quite clear, but the wind is as troublesome as ever. It is through ministering to my wife that I have not had any time to come here, sir." Said the master, who knew the wife's wickedness, "Ah! Brahmin, the wise and good of days gone by taught you how to physic a woman suffering like your wife from so stubborn an ailment. But rebirth has confused your memory so that you forget." So saying, he told the following story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva was born a Brahmin in a very distinguished family. After perfecting his education at Taxila, he became a teacher of worldwide fame in Benares. To him flocked as pupils the young nobles and Brahmins from all the princely and wealthy families. Now a country Brahmin, who had learned from the bodhisattva the 3 Vedas and the 18 sciences, and who stopped on in Benares to look after his estate, came 2 or 3 times every day to listen to the bodhisattva's teachings. And this Brahmin had a wife who was a bad, wicked woman. And everything came to pass as above. When the Brahmin explained how it was that he could not get away to listen to his master's teachings, the bodhisattva, who knew that the Brahmin's wife was only feigning sickness, thought to himself, "I will tell him what physic will cure the creature." So he said to the Brahmin, "Get her no more choice foods, my son, but collect the excreta of cows and in that add 5 kinds of fruit and so on, and let the lot pickle in a new copper pot till the whole flavors of the metal. Then take a rope or cord or stick and go to your wife, and tell her plainly she must either swallow the safe cure you have brought her, or else work for her food. And here you will repeat certain lines which I will tell you. If she refuses the remedy, then threaten to let her have a taste of the rope or stick, and to drag her about for a time by the hair, while you strike her with your fists. You will find that at the mere threat she will be up and about her work." So off went the Brahmin and brought his wife a mess prepared as the bodhisattva had directed. "Who prescribed this?" said she. "The master," said her husband. "Take it away, I won't have it." "So you won't have it, said the young Brahmin, taking up the rope end. "Well then, you've either got to swallow down that safe cure or else to work for honest treatment and food." So saying he uttered the stanza, "You may ale or eat. Which shall it be? For you can't do both, my Khuddhaka." Terrified by this, the woman Khuddhaka realized from the moment the master interfered how impossible it was to deceive him, and, getting up, went about her work. And the consciousness that the master knew her wickedness made her repent, and become as good as she had formerly been wicked. So ended the story, and the Brahmin's wife, feeling that the all-enlightened Buddha knew what she was, stood in such awe of him that she sinned no more. His lesson ended, the master identified the birth by saying, "The husband and wife of today were the husband and wife of the story, and I was the master." Source. Adapted from archaic translation by Robert Chalmers. JATAKA number 131. Asampadana JATAKA. If a friend. This story was told by the master while at the bamboo grove, about Devdatta. For at that time the brethren were discussing in the hall of truth the ingratitude of Devdatta and his inability to recognize the master's goodness. When the master himself entered and on inquiry was told the subject of their talk. Brethren, said he, this is not the first time that Devdatta has been ungrateful. He was just as ungrateful in past days. So saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time, when a certain king of Magadha was reigning in Rajraha city, the bodhisattva was his treasurer, worth 80 crores, and known as the millionaire. In Benares there lived a treasurer also worth 80 crores, who was named Piliya, and was a great friend of the millionaire. For some reason or other Piliya of Benares got into difficulties, and lost all his property, and was reduced to beggary. In his need he left Benares, and with his wife journeyed on foot to Rajraha city, to see the millionaire, the last hope left him. And the millionaire embraced his friend and treated him as an honored guest, asking, in due course, the reason of the visit. I am a ruined man, answered Piliya, I have lost everything, and have come to ask you to help me. With all my heart. Have no fear on that count, said the millionaire. He had his strong room opened, and gave to Piliya 40 crores. Also he divided into 2 equal parts the whole of his property, livestock and all, and given to Piliya the just half of his entire fortune. Taking his wealth, Piliya went back to Benares, and there lived. Not long after a like calamity overtook the millionaire, who, in his turn, lost every penny he had. Thinking about where to turn in the hour of need, he thought how he had befriended Piliya to the half of his possessions, and might go to him for assistance without fear of being thrown over. So he set out from Rajraha city with his wife, and came to Benares. At the entrance to the city he said to her, Wife, it is not befitting for you to trudge along the streets with me. Wait here a little till I send a carriage with a servant to bring you into the city in proper state. So saying, he left her under shelter, and went on alone into the town, till he came to Piliya's house, where he asked himself to be announced as the millionaire from Rajraha city, come to see his friend. Well, show him in, said Piliya. But at sight of the other's condition he neither rose to meet him, nor greeted him with words of welcome, but only demanded what brought him here. To see you, was the reply. Where are you stopping? Nowhere, as yet. I left my wife under shelter and came straight to you. There's no room here for you. Take an alm of rice, find somewhere to cook and eat it, and then go away and never come to visit me again. So saying, the rich man sent a servant with orders to give his unfortunate friend half a quarter of grains from a bunch to carry away tied up in the corner of his cloth. And this, though that very day he had had 1,000 wagon loads of the best rice threshed out and stored up in his overflowing granaries. Yes, the rascal, who had coolly taken 400 millions, now gave out as alms half a quarter of grains from a bunch to his one-time helper. Accordingly, the servant measured out the grains from the bunch in a basket, and brought it to the bodhisattva, who argued within himself whether or no he should take it. And he thought, this ungrateful breaks off our friendship because I am a ruined man. Now, if I refuse his paltry gift, I shall be as bad as he. For the ignoble, who contempt a modest gift, outrage the first idea of friendship. Be it, therefore, mine to fulfill friendship so far as in me lies, by taking his gift of grains from a bunch. So he tied up the grains in the corner of his cloth, and made his way back to where he had housed his wife. What have you got, dear? Said she. Our friend Piliya gives us this much grains, and washes his hands of us. Oh, why did you take it? Is this a fit return for the 40 crores? Don't cry, dear wife, said the bodhisattva. I took it simply because I wanted not to violate the principle of friendship. Why these tears? So saying, he uttered this stanza. If a friend plays the miser's part, a simpleton is cut to the heart. His alms of grains I will take, and not for this our friendship break. But still the wife kept on crying. Now, at that moment a farm servant whom the millionaire had given to Piliya was passing by and came near on hearing the weeping of his former mistress. Recognizing his master and mistress, he fell at their feet, and with tears and sobs asked the reason of their coming. And the bodhisattva told him their story. Keep up your spirits, said the man, cheerily. And, taking them to his own living, there made ready perfumed baths, and a meal for them. Then he let the other slaves know that their old master and mistress had come, and after a few days marched them in a body to the king's palace, where they made quite a commotion. The king asked what the matter was, and they told him the whole story. So he sent then for the two, and asked the millionaire whether the report was true that he had given 400 millions to Piliya. Sir, said he, when in his need no friend confided in me, and came to seek my aid, I gave him the half, not only of my money, but of my livestock and of everything that I possessed. Is this so? Said the king to Piliya. Yes, sire, said he. And when, in his turn, one who helped you earlier, confided in you and found you out, did you show him honor and hospitality? Here Piliya was silent. Did you have a half-quarter of grains given out as alms into the corner of his cloth? Still Piliya was silent. Then the king took advice with his ministers as to what should be done. And finally, as a judgment on Piliya, ordered them to go to Piliya's house and give the whole of Piliya's wealth to the millionaire. No, sire, said the bodhisattva. I need not what is another's. Let me be given nothing beyond what I formerly gave him. Then the king ordered that the bodhisattva should enjoy his own again. And the bodhisattva, with a large group of attendants of servants, came back with his regained wealth to Rajraha city, where he put his affairs in order, and after a life spent in charity and other good works, passed away to fare according to his deeds. His lesson ended, the master identified the birth by saying, Devdutta was the treasurer Piliya of those days, and I myself the millionaire. Source: adapted from archaic translation by Robert Chalmers. JATAKA number 132. Pankagara JATAKA. Wise advice regarding this story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery about the sutta concerning the temptation by the daughters of Mara at the goatherd's banyan tree. The master quoted the sutta, beginning with its opening words. In all their dazzling beauty on they came, craving and hate and lust, like cotton down. Before the wind, the master made them fly. After he had recited the sutta right through to the end, the brethren met together in the hall of truth and spoke of how the daughters of Mara came near in all their many charms yet failed to seduce the all-enlightened one. For he did not as much as open his eyes to look upon them, so marvelous was he. Entering the hall, the master asked, and was told, what they were discussing. Brethren, said he, it is no marvel that I did not so much as look upon the daughters of Mara in this life when I have put sin from me and have won enlightenment. In former days when I was but in quest of wisdom, when sin still lived within me, I found strength not to gaze even upon loveliness divine by way of lust in violation of virtue. And by that continence I won a kingdom. So saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva was the youngest of 100 brothers, and his adventures are to be detailed here, as above in the Taxila Jataka. When the kingdom had been offered to the Bodhisattva by the people, and when he had accepted it and been anointed king, the people decorated the town like a city of the gods and the royal palace like the palace of Indra. Entering the city, the Bodhisattva passed into the spacious hall of the palace and there seated himself in all his godlike beauty on his jeweled throne beneath the white umbrella of his kingship. Round him in glittering splendor stood his ministers and Brahmins and nobles, while 16,000 dancing girls, fair as the nymphs of heaven, sang and danced and made music, till the palace was loud with sounds like the sky filled with thunder clouds. Gazing round on the pomp of his royal state, the bodhisattva thought how had he looked upon the charms of the ogresses, he would have perished miserably, nor ever have lived to see his present magnificence, which he owed to his following the advices of the Paksika Buddhas. And as these thoughts filled his heart, his emotion found release in these verses. Wise advices regarding, firm in my resolve. With resolute heart still holding on my course, I shunned the sirens' livings and their snares, and found a great salvation in my need. So ended the lesson which these verses taught. And the great being ruled his kingdom in righteousness, and filled with charity and other good works till in the end he passed away to fare according to his deeds. His lesson ended, the master identified the birth by saying, I was the prince of those days who went to Taxila and won a kingdom.